Sarah Chun was eating breakfast when the sky turned black. She looked up from her coffee and saw the ships. They were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. They covered the sun like metal clouds. The radio crackled to life. Emergency. Broadcasts filled every channel. The ships had appeared over every major city on Earth at the same time. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. Everywhere Sarah ran to her window. She lived in downtown San Francisco, and she could see one of the alien ships hanging over the bay. It was silent, just floating there like a mountain in the sky. Cars had stopped in the streets. People stood on sidewalks, pointing up, and the ship spoke. The voice came from everywhere at once. Every radio, every TV, every phone. It spoke in perfect English and perfect Chinese and perfect Spanish all at the same time. Somehow everyone heard it in their own language. People of Earth, we are the hegemony. We rule this part of the galaxy. You will surrender now. You have no choice. Submit or die. Sarah grabbed her uniform. She was a captain in the UN Space Command. Their headquarters was only 10 miles away. She had to get there, but as she ran to her car, she saw the first human ships rising to meet the aliens. Earth's defense fleet was small but brave. 12 destroyers and 3 carriers launched from the orbital stations. Sarah watched them on her phone as she drove through the panicking streets. The space battle lasted 4 minutes. The alien weapons were like nothing humans had ever seen. They didn't fire bullets or missiles. They fired pure energy that turned the human ships into light. One moment the ships were there. The next moment they were gone. Just flashes of white light and empty space. Sarah reached the headquarters as the last human ship vanished. The building was chaos. Officers ran everywhere. Radios buzzed with desperate reports from around the world. Every human military base was under attack. Every space station was destroyed. Chun. General Morrison spotted her in the crowd. Thank God you're here. We need every officer we can get. What's our status, sir? Sarah asked. Morrison's face was grim. We're losing. Fast. The aliens hit every military target at once. Our satellites are gone. Our space fleet is gone. They're demanding surrender from every government on Earth. Sarah looked at the screens around the command center. News feeds showed the alien ships over dozens of cities. Some governments were already trying to negotiate. The president of the European Union was on TV, talking about peaceful surrender. Sir, what are our orders? Sarah asked. Orders? Morrison laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Orders are to survive. The aliens say they want us to live. They just want us to obey. Over the next few hours, Sarah watched her world fall apart. One by one, the governments gave up. The President of the United States announced surrender at noon. The Chinese premier followed an hour later. By evening, every major nation had raised the white flag, but the people were different. Sarah saw it first in the streets, outside the headquarters. Even as their leaders surrendered, ordinary humans were fighting back. They threw rocks at the alien patrol ships. They spray-painted angry messages on walls. They refused to go to the collection points the aliens had set up. 3 days after the invasion, the aliens landed troops in every major city. Sarah got her first look at them through binoculars. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. They moved like machines, perfect and coordinated. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The alien commander for Earth was named Seth Carr. He spoke to the world on the 4th day. He appeared on every screen, speaking in that same impossible way that let everyone understand him. Humans of Earth, I am Commander Zethkar of the Vorthic Empire. We have conquered 47 star systems. We have ruled over 200 species. You are now part of the hegemony. You will be relocated to work facilities. You will be given new purposes. Resistance is pointless. We have broken stronger species than yours." Sarah was hiding in the basement of an abandoned building when she heard this speech. She wasn't alone. 12 other soldiers had refused to surrender. They had been living underground for a week, watching and learning. "He sounds pretty sure of himself," whispered Lieutenant James Park. He was young, maybe 25. His eyes burned with anger. "They all do," said Dr. Marcus Webb. He wasn't a soldier, just a scientist who had been at the headquarters. When the attack came, "I've been studying their broadcasts. They talk about humans like we're animals they're bringing to heel." Sarah studied the others in the dim light. They were dirty and tired, but their eyes were bright. None of them looked broken. "What do we know about these work facilities?" she asked. Webb pulled out a tablet. "From what I can gather, they're processing centers. They take people in, sort them by abilities, and ship them to different planets. Some for manual labor, some for breeding programs." "Breeding programs?" Park's voice went cold. "They want to control human reproduction. Make sure the next generation is more manageable." The room went quiet. Sarah felt something hard and angry growing in her chest. She had felt it since the first day, but now it was becoming something else. Something dangerous. "They think they can break us," she said quietly. "They think we're just another species to add to their collection." "Maybe they're right," said Corporal Lisa Santos. She was older than the others, a veteran of the Mars colonies. "Maybe we should just give up. Live as slaves instead of dying as fighters." Sarah looked at her. "Do you really believe that?" Santos was quiet for a long moment. No, I don't." "Good, because I've been thinking. They conquered 47 star systems, right? 200 species. But I bet those other species didn't have something we have." "What's that?" Webb asked. Sarah smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "We're too stupid to know when we're beaten." Over. The next month, Sarah's group grew. Word spread through the ruins of San Francisco that humans were still fighting. Not the governments, not the armies, but ordinary people who refused to give up. They came in ones and twos. Teachers, mechanics, doctors, students. People who had never held a gun, but were willing to learn. The aliens had set up their main base in what used to be Golden Gate Park. Sarah's people watched them every day. The aliens were efficient, but predictable. They followed patterns. They never seemed to expect real resistance. Dr. Webb made an interesting discovery. He had managed to intercept some alien communications, and what he found surprised everyone. "They're confused," he told Sarah one evening. "The commander, this Zeth Kar, he's sending reports back to his superiors. He says humans aren't behaving according to their psychological profiles." "What do you mean?" "Other species apparently give up completely once their governments surrender. They go quietly to the processing centers. They accept their new lives without fighting. But humans... Webb grinned. "Humans keep fighting even when it's hopeless." Sarah nodded. She had seen it herself. Even in the work camps the aliens had set up, humans were causing problems. They sabotaged equipment. They helped each other escape. They sang forbidden songs and told forbidden stories. "They don't understand us," Sarah realized. "They think we're like all the others, but we're not." "No," Webb agreed. "We're definitely not." That night, Sarah made a decision that would change everything. She gathered her people in the basement of their hideout. 37 humans now, all looking at her with hope and determination. "The aliens think they've won," she told them. "They think Earth is just another conquered world. They're wrong. This isn't the end of the war. This is just the beginning." She looked around at their faces. Dirty, tired, but unbroken. They want to break our spirits. They want to make us give up. But every day we fight, every day we resist, we prove something important. We prove that humans don't break. Lieutenant Park raised his hand. What's the plan, Captain? Sarah's smile was fierce. We're going to teach these aliens something they've never learned in 47 star systems. We're going to show them what happens when you try to cage something that was born free. Outside, the alien ships hummed in the darkness. But in the basement, 37 humans planned their rebellion. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to start something that would shake the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the aliens came. Commander Zethkar stood in his command center, looking down at the reports from Earth. The numbers didn't make sense. On every other world the hegemony had conquered, resistance ended within weeks. The local population would try to fight at first, but once their governments surrendered and their armies were destroyed, they gave up. They accepted their new lives under hegemony rule, but not humans. Zethkar read the latest report from the San Francisco sector. Another supply convoy attacked. Another processing facility sabotaged. 3 more alien patrols had gone missing in the ruins of the city. The humans called it guerrilla warfare. Zethkar called it impossible. Commander, his aide approached. The High Command is requesting an update on the human compliance rates. Zethkar. 4 hands clenched into fists. Compliance rates. On other worlds, 90% of the population was in processing centers within 3 months. On Earth, after 6 months, they had barely managed 40%. Tell the High Command that humans are unusual, Zethkar said. His aide looked confused. Unusual how, sir? They don't break. Down in the ruins of what used to be San Francisco, Sarah Chun crouched behind a broken wall. Her resistance cell had grown to over 200 people. They called themselves the Free Earth Movement, and they were getting bolder every day. Target approaching, whispered James Park through her earpiece. He was watching from a building across the street. Single. Transport, 6 guards. Sarah checked her weapon. It was alien technology, taken from a captured patrol. Dr. Webb had figured out how to modify them for human use. The aliens never expected their own weapons to be used against them. Remember, Sarah said to her team, we want the transport intact. We need those supplies. The alien convoy moved slowly down the broken street. They were transporting food and medical supplies to their base in the park. The aliens thought they were safe because no human technology could threaten them. They were wrong. Sarah's team struck fast and hard. Alien energy weapons flashed in the darkness. But the aliens were caught by surprise. Within minutes, the convoy was captured and the guards were dead. Load everything into our trucks, Sarah ordered. We've got 5 minutes before their backup arrives. As her people worked, Sarah thought about how much had changed. In the beginning, they had just tried to survive. Now they were actively hunting alien patrols. They had weapons, vehicles, and a growing network of safe houses throughout the city. But the aliens were learning too. 3 weeks later, Zethkar implemented what he called the compliance protocols. If humans wouldn't surrender willingly, he would break their spirit by force. The first protocol was cultural destruction. Alien troops marched into every human city and began destroying symbols of human achievement. They burned libraries and museums. They tore down statues and monuments. They erased street names and replaced them with numbers. In Paris, they destroyed the Eiffel Tower. In Rome, they leveled the Colosseum. In New York, they brought down the Statue of Liberty. On every news broadcast, Zethkar's voice announced each destruction. Your past means nothing now, he said. Your heroes are forgotten. Your culture is dead. You belong to the hegemony. But the humans didn't react the way Zethkar expected. Instead of despair, the destruction seemed to make them angrier. Resistance cells formed in every major city. Attacks on alien facilities increased. Sarah watched the broadcast of the Statue of Liberty falling and felt tears on her cheeks. But the tears weren't from sadness. They were from rage. They think they can erase us. She told her people that night. They think if they destroy our monuments, they destroy our spirit. But they don't understand. Those buildings, those statues, they weren't what made us human. They were just reminders of what we already are. The second protocol was family separation. The aliens began taking children from their parents and shipping them to special facilities. On other worlds, there they would be raised to serve the hegemony without question. This was the protocol that had worked best on other species. Take away the children, and parents would do anything to get them back. They would work willingly, obey completely, if there was even a chance of seeing their children again. But humans reacted differently. Instead of submission, the family separations caused an explosion of resistance. Parents who had been trying to keep their heads down suddenly became fierce fighters. They joined the resistance in massive numbers. Dr. Marcus Webb had been studying captured alien records when he made a disturbing discovery. He called Sarah to an emergency meeting in their main hideout. "I've been looking at the psychological profiles the aliens have on different species," he said, spreading papers across a table. "Every other species they've conquered shows the same pattern. Once their governments fall and their armies are destroyed, the population becomes passive. They accept their fate, but not humans," Sarah said. "Not humans. And that's got the aliens worried. Look at this." Webb showed her a captured communication. "This is a report from Zethkar to his superiors. He's asking for permission to use what they call extreme compliance measures." Sarah felt a chill. "What does that mean?" "I'm not sure, but I think it means they're getting desperate. Every other method they've used has failed. Their psychological warfare isn't working. Their cultural destruction just made us angrier. Their family separations turned more people into fighters." Webb was right. In the alien command center, Zethkar was facing the worst crisis of his career. His superiors were demanding results. But every method he tried seemed to make the human resistance stronger. He decided to visit one of the human processing centers personally. Perhaps seeing the prisoners face to face would give him insight into their psychology. The center was located in what used to be Oakland. Thousands of humans were housed there, waiting to be shipped to work assignments on other worlds. Zethkar expected to see broken spirits and defeated faces. Instead, he found something that chilled him to his core. The humans were organized. Even in captivity, even facing an uncertain future on alien worlds, they had created a structure. They shared food equally. They cared for the sick and elderly. They taught the children in secret, and they sang. Zethkar heard it as he walked through the facility. Thousands of human voices raised in harmony. They sang songs from their destroyed culture. They sang songs about freedom and hope. They sang songs that made his alien guards nervous. "What are they singing?" Zethkar asked his translator. "It's an old human song, Commander. It says, 'We shall overcome.'" Zethkar studied the faces of the singing humans. He saw defiance. He saw determination. He saw something that shouldn't exist in conquered people: hope. At night, he sent an urgent message to the Hegemony High Command. Request immediate authorization for biological compliance measures. Standard psychological protocols have failed. Human resistance continues to grow despite all suppression efforts. Recommend implementation of species-specific biological agents to ensure complete submission. The response came back within hours. Authorization granted. Begin biological compliance immediately. But in the ruins of San Francisco, Sarah-chan was preparing her own surprise. Dr. Webb had made a breakthrough that would change everything. "I've been studying the alien technology we've captured," Webb told her excitedly. "Their communication systems, their weapons, their ships. And I've found something incredible." "What?" "They're not as advanced as they pretend to be. Most of their technology is stolen from other species they've conquered. They're not innovators. They're collectors." Sarah frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means they don't adapt well to new situations. They use the same methods on every species because those methods have always worked. But humans, ... double quotes. Webb grinned. "Humans aren't like other species. How do we use that? By doing what humans do best. We improvise. We adapt. We turn their own weapons against them in ways they never expected." Webb showed her his latest project. He had taken alien communication equipment and modified it with human electronics. The result was a device that could hack into the alien networks. "If we can get this into their main base," Webb said, "we can turn their own systems against them. We can send false orders, corrupt their data, maybe even turn their automated defenses on their own troops." Sarah looked at the device. It was crude by human standards, built from spare parts and salvaged alien technology. But it represented something important. It was proof that humans could take alien technology and make it better. "When do we move?" she asked. "Tomorrow night." "But Sarah... Webb's expression grew serious. "I intercepted another communication. They're planning something big. Something they call biological compliance measures." "What does that mean?" "I think they're going to try to kill us all." Sarah nodded grimly. "Then we better make sure our mission succeeds." The next evening, Sarah led a team of 50 fighters toward the alien base in Golden Gate Park. They moved through the ruins like shadows, using every trick they had learned in 6 months of guerrilla warfare. The aliens had gotten more careful. Since the resistance started, they had sensors and automated defenses, but they still thought like conquerors. They expected their enemies to fight like armies, with predictable tactics and clear objectives. They didn't expect humans. 1 year after the invasion, Earth had become something the aliens never expected. It wasn't a conquered world. It was a battlefield. Dr. Marcus Webb stared at the data streaming across his modified screens. The hack they had planted in the alien communication center was still working. For months now, they had been listening to the enemy's secrets. What they learned changed everything. "Sarah, you need to see this." Webb called out. Sarah Chun hurried over to his workstation. They were hiding in an abandoned subway station beneath San Francisco. Over the past year, the resistance had built an entire underground city in the tunnels. Thousands of humans now lived and worked below ground, invisible to the alien sensors. "Above, what did you find?" Sarah asked. Webb pointed to the screen. "Remember how the aliens said they conquered 47 star systems? I've been tracking their communications with other worlds. Sarah, there are rebellions starting everywhere." Sarah's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" 3 different species have started fighting back against the hegemony. The Kithera in the Tau system, the Veltar near the galactic core, and something called the Mindari Union. They're all referencing Earth in their communications. Webb pulled up translated messages. Sarah read them with growing amazement. "If the humans of Earth can resist, so can we. The Terrans have shown us that the hegemony can be fought. We are not slaves. We are not broken. We stand with Earth." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "We're not alone." "It gets better," Webb continued. "The hegemony is pulling ships from other systems to deal with the rebellions. They're spread thin for the first time in their history." Above ground, Commander Zethkar was facing the worst crisis in hegemony history. His daily reports to the High Command grew more desperate each week. The biological weapons had failed. The hegemony's best scientists had created a virus designed to target human genetic markers specifically. It should have killed every human on Earth within days. Instead, the humans had somehow developed immunity. Not just resistance, but complete immunity. Zethkar's scientists couldn't explain it. The virus simply had no effect on human biology. Worse, the humans had captured samples of the bioweapon and were studying it. Zethkar's intelligence reports suggested they were learning to modify alien biological technology for their own use. "Sir," his aide approached nervously, "we've lost contact with the processing facility in New York." Zethkar's 4 hands clenched. Lost contact how? The humans attacked it 3 days ago. But this wasn't like their other raids. They didn't just steal supplies and leave. They took the entire facility. Impossible. That facility housed 20,000 prisoners and had a full garrison. Yes, sir, but the humans had help from inside. The prisoners organized and supported the attack. They overwhelmed our forces and freed everyone. Zethkar stared at the tactical display. Red markers showed human resistance activity across the globe. There were more red markers than blue ones now. The humans controlled more territory than the hegemony did. "How many facilities have we lost this month?" he asked quietly. 17, sir. The humans are getting bolder. They're not just hitting supply convoys anymore. They're targeting our major installations. Zethkar studied the reports. The human tactics had evolved dramatically over the past year. They no longer fought like desperate survivors. They fought like an army. They had learned to use captured alien technology better than its creators. They had developed new weapons by combining human engineering with alien science. They had built underground networks that spanned continents. Most disturbing of all, they had begun to coordinate globally. Resistance cells in different continents were working together, sharing information and resources across vast distances. "Send a message to the High Command," Zethkar ordered. "Request immediate reinforcements. The human situation is out of control." In the tunnels beneath London, Resistance leader Emma Thompson received a coded message from Sarah Chun in San Francisco. The Global Resistance Network was planning something unprecedented. Operation Thunderbolt. Emma read aloud to her cell. "Leaders. Simultaneous strikes on alien command centers worldwide." "When?" asked her second-in-command, a former British SAS officer named David Price. "Tomorrow night. Every major resistance cell hits their local command center at the same time. The goal is to capture alien leadership for interrogation." Price whistled. "That's ambitious." "What about casualties?" Emma's face was grim. Sarah's message says we should expect heavy losses. But if we can capture enough alien commanders, we might learn about their overall strategy. Similar conversations were happening in hidden bases around the world. In the catacombs beneath Paris, in abandoned mines in Australia, in hidden caves in the Amazon. Everywhere humans had learned to hide, they were preparing for the largest coordinated attack since the invasion. Sarah herself was preparing for the most dangerous part of the mission. Her target wasn't just any command center. She was going after Commander Zethkar himself. "Are you sure about this?" Dr. Webb asked as Sarah checked her equipment. "He's the most heavily guarded alien on the planet." "That's exactly why we need him," Sarah replied. "He's been here since the beginning. He knows their long-term plans." Webb handed her a small device. "This is a neural interface I built from captured alien technology. If you can get it close to his head, it should be able to download his memories directly." Sarah stared at the device. "You built this from their technology?" Turns out the aliens aren't as creative as they think. Most of their advanced systems are just combinations of technology stolen from conquered species. Once you understand the basic principles, you can modify them. Sarah clipped the device to her belt. Around her, 50 of the best human fighters prepared their weapons. They were armed with a mixture of human and alien technology that would have been impossible a year ago. "Remember," Sarah told her team, "we're not trying to destroy their base. We're trying to capture it intact. Every piece of alien technology we take is another weapon we can turn against them." At midnight, Operation Thunderbolt began. Explosions lit up the night sky over dozens of cities around the world. Human fighters emerged from tunnels and ruins, like an underground army coming to the surface. They struck with precision and coordination that amazed even their alien enemies. In Tokyo, former Yakuza boss Hiroshi Tanaka led 100 fighters through the alien command center like a knife through paper. His team had learned alien combat tactics by watching captured surveillance footage. They moved like the aliens, thought like the aliens, and beat them at their own game. In Moscow, Dr. Anya Volkov used modified alien technology to turn the enemies. Automated defenses against them. Security systems that should have protected the aliens instead opened doors for human infiltrators. In Cairo, teenager Amira Hassan proved that humans could adapt alien technology faster than its creators. She had built flying drones from salvaged alien components. Her swarm of makeshift aircraft overwhelmed alien air defenses through sheer unpredictability. But the most important battle was happening in San Francisco. Sarah's team moved through the alien base like ghosts. They had been studying the layout for months, learning guard rotations and security protocols. When they struck, it was with the precision of a surgical operation. Alien guards fell to human weapons firing alien energy. Security doors opened to human-modified access codes. Defense systems shut down as human hackers invaded alien networks. Within an hour, Sarah stood outside Commander Zethkar's private chambers. The alien commander was waiting for her. "I wondered when you would come," Zethkar said in perfect English. He stood in the center of his room, 4 arms spread wide. He wasn't holding any weapons. "You're surrendering?" Sarah asked, keeping her weapon trained on him. Zethkar S-alien. Features shifted in what might have been a smile. "I am trying to understand. In 47 star systems, across 200 conquered species, I have never encountered anything like humanity." Sarah stepped into the room, but kept her distance. "What do you want to understand?" "Why you don't break. Every other species reaches a point where they accept defeat. They see the futility of resistance and choose survival over pride. But humans... Zethkar shook his alien head. "Humans seem to get stronger the more pressure we apply." "Maybe that's because we understand something you don't," Sarah said. "And what is that?" Sarah smiled grimly. "Some things are worth fighting for, even if you can't win." Zethkar stared at her for a long moment. "But you are winning. That is what I don't understand. By every tactical analysis, you should have been crushed months ago. Yet somehow, you have turned this into a war the hegemony cannot win. Maybe your tactical analysis is wrong. Perhaps. Or perhaps humans are simply different from every other species in the galaxy." Sarah activated Webb's neural interface device. "Let's find out." The next few minutes were a blur of mental invasion and extraction. The device pulled memories directly from Zethkar's mind while he writhed in alien agony. When it was over, Sarah had what she came for: the complete tactical database of the hegemony. Star charts showing every conquered world. Military deployments across 47 systems. And most importantly, the locations of other species beginning to rebel. As Sarah prepared to leave, Zethkar spoke one last time. 2 years after the invasion, the impossible was happening across the galaxy. Species that had been slaves for thousands of years were remembering what freedom meant. In the Tau system, the Kithara had broken their chains. For 3,000 years, they had served the hegemony without question. Now their ships flew beside human vessels, attacking hegemony supply lines. The Veltar, who had been conquered so long ago that they had forgotten their original homeworld, were refusing military service. Entire battalions of Veltar soldiers had deserted, taking their weapons and ships with them. Even the Mindari, a hive mind species that the hegemony had controlled through their queen, had found a way to resist. Somehow, individual Mindari were breaking free from the collective and forming their own resistance cells. All because Earth had shown them something they thought was impossible, that the hegemony could be fought. Commander Zethkar sat in his new command center, built in the ruins of what used to be Los Angeles. His previous base in San Francisco had been completely overrun by human forces. He had barely escaped with his life. The reports from across the galaxy made grim reading. 17 star systems were in open rebellion. Supply lines were cut. Military bases were under constant attack. A hegemony was fighting wars on dozens of fronts simultaneously. Sir, his aide approached with another stack of reports. The High Command is demanding an immediate solution to the Earth problem. Zethkar looked at his aide with exhausted eyes. Solution? There is no solution. Every method we have tried has failed. Every weapon we have used has been turned against. Use? What do you mean, sir? Zethkar gestured to the tactical displays around the command center. They showed human forces across North America, all armed with hybrid technology that combined the best of human engineering with captured alien science. Look at what they've accomplished, Zethkar said. 2 years ago, they were using primitive projectile weapons. Now they have energy weapons more advanced than ours. They've taken our ship designs and improved them. They've cracked our communication codes and learned to hack our networks. The aide looked uncomfortable. But sir, they're still just humans. Surely the hegemony can. The hegemony is losing, Zethkar interrupted. Not just here on Earth, but everywhere. And it's all because of them. He pointed to a surveillance image of Sarah Chun leading a human patrol through the ruins of San Francisco. That female and her followers have taught the galaxy something we spent 10,000 years trying to make them forget. They've taught them that resistance is possible. But even as Zethkar spoke, new orders were arriving from the Hegemony High Command. Orders that would change the nature of the war completely. On Earth, Dr. Marcus Webb was analyzing the latest intelligence reports when he made a discovery that chilled him to the bone. Sarah, you need to see this immediately. He called out. Sarah hurried to his workstation in their new command center. The human resistance had taken over an entire section of San Francisco, turning it into a fortified city. Buildings had been converted into factories, producing hybrid human-alien technology. Underground tunnels connected everything in a network that spanned the continent. What did you find? Sarah asked. Webb pointed to intercepted communications. The Hegemony High Command is done playing games. They're sending the Annihilation Fleet. Sarah felt ice in her veins. What's the Annihilation Fleet? From what I can gather, it's their ultimate weapon. Ships designed specifically to destroy entire worlds. They've never had to use it before, because their standard conquest methods always worked. Webb pulled up star charts showing ship movements across the galaxy. They're pulling vessels from every system they control. This fleet will be bigger than anything the galaxy has ever seen. Sarah studied the data. The numbers were terrifying. Thousands of ships, all converging on Earth. Weapons capable of cracking planets. Enough firepower to sterilize every continent. How long do we have? She asked. 6 months, maybe less. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled, and it was the same fierce expression she had worn on the first day of the invasion. Good, she said. Webb stared at her. Good? Sarah, they're sending a fleet to destroy our planet. Marcus, don't you see? They're desperate. If they had any other choice, They wouldn't risk their ultimate weapon on a single world. They're bringing everything they have because they know if they lose here, they lose everywhere. Sarah turned to address the other resistance leaders in the command center. Send a message to every resistance cell on Earth and every rebel group across the galaxy. Tell them the hegemony is making their final move. It's time for us to make ours. Over the next few weeks, Sarah's message spread across the galaxy, faster than hegemony communications could track. Rebel groups that had been fighting separate wars began to coordinate. Species that had never worked together found common cause. Against their oppressors, the Kithra shared their advanced shield technology with human engineers. The Veltar provided detailed intelligence about hegemony ship designs. The Mindari used their hive mind abilities to coordinate attacks across vast distances, but the most important development was happening on Earth itself. Human scientists had been studying captured alien technology for 2 years. They had learned to modify it, improve it, and combine it with human innovations in ways the aliens never imagined. Dr. Elena Vasquez led the breakthrough that changed everything. Working in a hidden laboratory beneath Mexico City, she had been experimenting with alien energy systems. Her goal was simple: find a way to power larger human ships for space combat. What she discovered was much more significant. The aliens don't understand their own technology, she told Sarah during a secured video call. Most of their systems are just copied from conquered species. They never learned the underlying principles. What does that mean for us? Sarah asked. It means we can do things with their technology that they never imagined. Watch this. Elena activated a device in her laboratory. What Sarah saw on the screen defied belief. Elena had created a weapon that turned alien energy against itself. When fired at alien ships, it didn't destroy them. It converted them. You're taking control of their ships? Sarah asked in amazement. Better than that. We're turning their ships into our ships. The energy conversion process reprograms their computer systems to obey human commands. We can literally steal their fleet ship by ship. This discovery spread to human laboratories around the world. Within weeks, resistance cells everywhere were building conversion weapons. The underground factories that had been producing hybrid technology switched to mass-producing the new devices. For the first time since the invasion, humans were preparing to take the fight to Space. Commander Zethkar received word of the human space preparations just as the Annihilation Fleet entered the solar system. From his command center, he watched the largest military force in galactic history take position around Earth. 5,000 ships hung in space like metal stars. Each one was powerful enough to destroy a city. Together, they could reduce Earth to cosmic dust in minutes. Sir, his communications officer announced, Admiral Crox is requesting a direct link. Admiral Crox was the supreme commander of the Annihilation Fleet. His image appeared on Zethkar's main screen, a massive alien with 6 arms and cold, calculating eyes. Commander Zethkar, the Admiral's voice was like grinding metal. Your reports about human resistance have been ... disturbing. The High Command has decided that Earth must be made an example. Admiral, if I may suggest, you may not. Your methods have failed completely. The human rebellion has spread to 17 systems. Other species are refusing orders. The foundation of the hegemony is cracking. Crox leaned forward, his alien features twisted with anger. This ends now. We will demonstrate to the galaxy what happens to species that resist the hegemony. Earth will be destroyed so completely that nothing will remain but dust and warnings to others. Zethkar felt something. Unexpected regret. Admiral, there are still millions of humans in our processing centers. Valuable workers, irrelevant. The example must be absolute. Prepare for planetary bombardment in 12 hours. The connection ended leaving Zethkar alone with his thoughts. In 2 years of fighting humans, he had learned to respect them. They were warriors in a way his own species had forgotten how to be. Now they were about to be eliminated, and with them, the spark of rebellion they had lit across the galaxy. But as Zethkar prepared his final reports, alarms began sounding throughout. His command center, "Sir?" his tactical officer called out. "We're detecting massive energy signatures from the human underground networks." "What kind of signatures?" "Unknown, sir. But they're building in intensity across the entire planet." On the main screen, energy readings spiked as hidden human installations activated systems that defied alien understanding. Underground facilities that the hegemony had written off as primitive were revealing technology more advanced than anything in the Annihilation Fleet. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice was tight with fear, "the humans are launching something." From hidden sites around the world, human spacecraft began rising into orbit. But these weren't the crude vessels Earth had possessed 2 years ago. These were ships that combined human ingenuity with alien technology in ways that created something entirely new. They were faster than hegemony ships, more maneuverable. 3 years after the invasion, the impossible was happening in space above Earth. The hegemony's Annihilation Fleet stretched across the solar system like a wall of metal and death. 5,000 ships, each one capable of destroying cities, all focused on one small blue planet that refused to surrender. But rising to meet them was something the galaxy had never seen before, a human fleet that should not exist. Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defiance. Around her, screens showed 200 human vessels climbing toward the alien armada. Each ship was a masterpiece of hybrid technology, combining human creativity with captured alien science. "All ships report ready, Captain," announced Lieutenant James Park. He had grown from an angry young soldier into Sarah's most trusted officer. "Energy conversion weapons are charged and targeted." Sarah nodded. Through the view screen, she could see the vast alien fleet beginning to move into attack formation. Admiral Crox clearly intended to end this quickly and brutally. "Open a channel to the hegemony flagship," Sarah ordered. The bridge fell silent as Admiral Crox's massive form appeared on the main screen. His 6 arms gestured dismissively as he saw Sarah. "So, the human insurrection has finally produced a leader worthy of personal attention." Crox's voice rumbled through the bridge. "I am Admiral Crox of the Annihilation Fleet. You will surrender immediately, or we will reduce your planet to cosmic dust." Sarah stepped forward, meeting the alien admiral's gaze without flinching. "I am Captain Sarah Chun of the Free Earth Fleet. We don't surrender." Crox's alien features twisted into what might have been amusement. "Your primitive vessels against the might of the hegemony? Your foolish courage will be remembered as a cautionary tale." "Maybe," Sarah replied calmly. "But Admiral, you're making the same mistake your people have made for 3 years. You still don't understand what humans are." "And what are you, little human?" Sarah's smile was cold as space itself. "We're what you made us. Every attack made us stronger. Every cruelty taught us resilience. Every attempt to break us forged us into something you could never become." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We're not just human anymore, Admiral. We're unbroken." Crox's expression shifted from amusement to anger. "Enough philosophy. Surrender now, or face annihilation." "No." The simple word hung in space between the two fleets. Sarah could see alien officers on Crox's bridge, exchanging uncertain glances. They had expected threats, pleas, or desperate negotiations. The calm refusal seemed to confuse them. "Very well," Crox snarled. "All ships open fire. Destroy them all." The space between Earth and the alien fleet lit up with energy weapons as 5,000 ships fired simultaneously. Beams of pure destruction. lanced toward the human vessels with enough power to melt continents. But the human ships didn't try to dodge or defend. Instead, they did something the aliens never expected. They fired back with weapons that turned alien energy against itself. Elena Vasquez's energy conversion technology worked perfectly. As hegemony weapons struck human ships, the alien energy was captured, converted, and redirected. What should have been devastating attacks became fuel for human weapons. The first volley of human return fire struck the alien fleet like a hammer. Blow. Conversion beams lanced out from human ships, striking hegemony vessels and reprogramming their systems instantly. Admiral Crox watched in horror as ship after ship in his fleet suddenly changed sides. Their weapons turned on their former allies. Their communication systems began broadcasting human orders. Impossible. Crox roared. How are they converting our ships? But his tactical officers had no answers. In 10,000 years of galactic conquest, the hegemony had never faced an enemy that could steal their technology and use it better than its creators. The battle raged for hours. The alien fleet had overwhelming numbers, but the humans had something more important: adaptability. Every alien tactic was met with a human counter-tactic. Every hegemony weapon was turned into a human advantage dot as the tide of battle turned. Sarah opened communication channels to the rebel groups fighting across the galaxy. The Kithra fleet in the Tau system. The Veltar resistance in the core worlds. The individual Mindari who had broken free from their collective. This is Earth to all free peoples, Sarah broadcast. The hegemony's final fleet is here. Now is our moment. Attack everywhere. Fight for freedom. Across the galaxy, the response was immediate. 17 star systems erupted in coordinated rebellion. Supply lines were cut. Military bases were overrun. The hegemony found itself fighting a war on every front, simultaneously. But the crucial battle was still happening above Earth. Commander Zeth Kar watched the space battle from his command center on the planet's surface. His orders were to coordinate the planetary bombardment once the human fleet was destroyed. Instead, he was watching the impossible. Humans were winning. 3/4 of the Annihilation fleet had been converted to human control. The remaining ships were retreating in disorder, their formations broken by tactics they couldn't understand. Admiral Crox's flagship, massive and heavily armored, was the last ship still fighting. Sarah's vessel, the Defiance, moved to engage it directly. "Captain," warned Dr. Webb from the science station, "that ship has enough firepower to destroy half our fleet." "Then we better make sure it doesn't get the chance," Sarah replied. Target. Their command center with conversion beams. The two flagships closed with each other, like ancient warriors meeting in single combat. Energy weapons flashed between them as each tried to gain the advantage. Sarah had learned something important in 3 years of fighting aliens. They were predictable. They followed patterns. They used the same tactics that had worked for millennia. Humans didn't. While Crox expected a direct assault, Sarah's ship suddenly broke away and launched a spread of conversion torpedoes. The small weapons, powered by human-modified alien technology, struck the Admiral's ship and began the transformation process. Crox felt his ship's systems turning against him as human programming invaded every circuit. His weapons powered down. His shields failed. His engines stopped responding to commands. "Impossible," he whispered as human soldiers materialized on his bridge through captured alien transporters. Sarah Chon stepped through the transporter beam, flanked by her best fighters. She looked around the alien bridge with calm satisfaction. "Admiral Crox," she said formally, "I accept your surrender." The massive alien stared at her with something approaching respect. How? How did a primitive species accomplish this? Sarah walked to the bridge's main view screen. Outside, the The space around Earth was filled with ships flying human colors. The Annihilation Fleet had become the Liberation Fleet. "You want to know what humans are?" Sarah asked. "We're the species that gets stronger when you try to break us. We're the ones who turn your weapons into our weapons. We're the people who refuse to give up, even when giving up makes sense." She turned back to face the defeated admiral. "But most importantly, we're the ones who remember that freedom's worth fighting for." Crocs nodded slowly. "I begin to understand. But what happens now? The hegemony will send more fleets." Sarah smiled. "No, they won't, because there is no hegemony anymore." She gestured to the communications displays around the bridge. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. The coordinated rebellions had succeeded beyond anyone's dreams. Star system after star system was declaring independence. Species that had been slaves for thousands of years were remembering how to be free. "The Tau system is free," Sarah read. From the reports, the Vieltar homeworld has been liberated. The Mindari have overthrown their queens and established individual governments. 17 systems have formed the Free Worlds Alliance. She looked at Crocs again. "Your empire is crumbling, Admiral. Not because we destroyed it, but because we showed everyone else that it could be destroyed." Over the following months, the collapse of the hegemony accelerated. Without the central authority that had held it together for 10 millennia, the empire fragmented into hundreds of independent worlds. Some former hegemony species tried to rebuild their own empires. Others formed peaceful alliances. A few chose complete isolation. But none of them ever again accepted the idea that conquest was inevitable, or that resistance was futile. Earth became the center of the Free Worlds Alliance, not as a ruler, but as a symbol. The planet that had refused to break became the heart of a new galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than domination. Sarah Chun found herself leading not just a resistance movement, but a diplomatic revolution. Species that had been enemies for millennia learned to work together. Technologies were shared freely instead of hoarded by conquerors. But perhaps the most important change was philosophical. The galaxy had learned something that Earth had always known, that the strength to resist tyranny exists in every thinking being. Commander Zeth Kar, the alien soldier who had witnessed humanity's rise from the beginning, spent his remaining years writing the definitive history of the human war. His final words in that chronicle became famous across the young galaxy. "I have seen empires rise and fall. I have witnessed the conquest of worlds and the subjugation of species. But I have never seen anything like what humans taught the galaxy. They showed us that the most powerful force in the universe is not a weapon or a fleet or an empire. It is the simple,